Hello everyone and welcome back, hope we're having a great day and we're all doing well. So the meta of Rainbow Six Siege has been changing quite a bit recently, depending on the different nerfs and buffs operators have been getting, as well as aspects such as secondary gadgets and speeds coming into account. A lot of operators have been creeping up in popularity and some of them have been falling off. So I thought in this video I'm going to share with you the top 5 defenders as of Operation Heavy Metal's mid-season patch. Now as you're watching this right now, drop a comment, tell me your top 5 favorite defenders in this current season, and as well as this, let me know your platform as well as your rank. And yes, this list is a personal preference, however I'm sure a lot of you would agree with this list, and for context I play at high diamond / champion rank on the PC platform, which you can catch me playing at twitch.tv / kudosr6, where you should drop a follow, and as well as this, if you haven't subbed to this channel already, we're trying to hit 100k by the end of the year, and I need all the help we can get. And without further ado, let's get into this list. Now, narrowing this down to 5 was quite hard, but at the number 5 spot, I feel genuinely at this current point in time that Legion has made his way into the top 5. Now, if you asked me before this season where Legion would be, I would have probably put him as like an A tier operator. I think he had a great gadget, great loadout, but personally there was a lot more other operators I would have taken over Legion. Never thought he was bad, always thought he was great, never think he deserved a buff. However, for some reason in Operation Heavy Metal, Ubisoft gave him the super shorty secondary, which is a big enough buff on its own, but as well as this, they completely reworked his goo mines, bringing back the initial damage, meaning that the moment someone hits a goo mine, they'll take damage, they don't have to wait for the first tick. And they also made them immune to EMPs, so you can't disable them anymore. IQ can no longer see the goo mines, Brava can't hack them, and yes, they're no longer invisible, but that has literally changed nothing, and I knew that wouldn't have changed anything because Capcan traps and frost mats aren't invisible, and people still hit them in every match. So making them no longer invisible hasn't changed a thing. That didn't nerf him at all, the rest of it was just a buff, and now Legion is absolutely incredible. They gave him more goo mines, they made them do more damage per tick, they also stack up now, so if you hit 3 goo mines at once, each individual one will cause its own damage, which is insane. Even before this update as well, Legion can stop a plan. If someone has a diffuser in their hand and they step in a goo mine, there's 5 seconds left on the clock, the game will make them pull out the goo mine before they're able to go for a plan. And as well as this, goo mines make a noise when someone stands in them, so even before someone stood in a goo mine, yeah, it might have not been very lethal, but you knew that they were pushing from that angle. They had to pull out that goo mine before they can sprint again. I believe that goo mines already done their purpose before. If I was a Legion standing in the middle of a room and I had a goo mine in every doorway, I then had sound calls of where the enemies were pushing from, and I knew that their mobility was limited. Now it's basically that, but you know, put on full steam. Legion can do all that and more. He can make rotates, he still has his impacts, you don't even have to waste them on rotates. The super shorty is now even more lethal because of the shotgun changes, again with the soft destruction as well, and his gadget is just stronger than it was before. So you don't even need to bring any other trap or intel operators. Legion can do it all. As well as that, he can set up the site. They've literally made him a jack of all trades at this current point in time. There's no downside to bringing a Legion. Okay, so at the number 4 spot, I have put Kaze. Kaze is basically just a necessary pick for most bomb sites in this game. One of the most basic rules of Rainbow Six Siege is reinforcing, protecting that reinforcement, and the attackers trying to get through that reinforcement. Kaze is basically the best line of defense of stopping an attacker from grabbing a wall. Yes, Bandit is great at it, but I can't deny the fact that Kaze just does it better. Bandit is great for when there's multiple walls to cover. For example, on bottom floor Chalet, you can't cover every wall down there with Kaze. There's 1 wall in Snowmobile and 2 double walls in Wine. All of these are vital walls for the attackers to get. If you only bring a Kaze, one of these walls are going to be left unprotected, and that is where the attackers are going to push from. So in certain situations, Bandit and Kaze are necessary to stack on top of each other. However, when you only need one of them, I recommend bringing Kaze every single time. He's just a lot more versatile than Bandit, as well as this, Kaze is currently the only way in the game to successfully electrify a hatch. I say successfully because yeah, you can electrify a hatch with Bandit if you want to be specific like that, but it requires you placing the Bandit charge on top of the hatch, which isn't viable because they're just going to shoot the Bandit charge because they're already on top of the hatch. As well as this, you can place electric claws in a lot less predictable locations. Bandit batteries are limited to being at the bottom of the wall. Yes, you can place them at either side, but if someone is trying to clear that, they know that the Bandit charge is at least going to be at the bottom of the wall. Kaze's electric claws, however, can be placed at any part of the wall. They can stick it to objects beside the wall itself. As long as the wall is in the radius of the gadget, it will be electrified. This makes it a lot harder for attackers to pinpoint where the electric claw is without first droning it, just making that job a little harder for the attacking team. Kaze is absolutely incredible, and and I would not be surprised if they, sort of tone him down a little bit to make him more in line with Bandit, or even release an operator which is sort of like an alternative to both Kaze and Bandit, because I feel like we may be due one of them very soon. Now, I was really debating who I was going to put at the number 3 spot, but I have a feeling I'm going to put Solus here. Solus is one of those operators where I believe there is quite a divide between high ranks and low ranks, similar to how Nook was as well. What made Nook good was the fact that she exploited the fact that the defenders were going to be relying on cameras and be watching their cameras to gain a bunch of intel. And factually, the lower the ranks you go down, the less people use drones, the less defenders go on cameras, and the more players try and rely on gunplay. So for low ranks, Nook didn't really do much for them. The cameras weren't a big issue for them. These low ranks could get close or even into sight without even being spotted by cameras, since the defense wasn't that good. And then, the higher ranks you would go, more people were playing Valkyrie, the more bulletproof cameras were appearing, and the more intel defense were gathering on the attacking team. This would then allow Nook to sneak past all these cameras and take the enemies off guard, meaning that she was way more useful at higher ranks than she was at lower ranks. And I see Solus in the same situation here. Low rank attackers aren't droning very well. A lot of the time in the prep phase, they'll be on their phones watching TikTok, or just throwing their drones into sight, getting them destroyed very easily. However, the higher you get in ranks, and especially in Pro League, the prep phase is vital for setting up attacker cameras all around the map. A good attacking team will never just throw all of their drones into the bomb site. They have it in their mind where they're going to push as a team, and the prep phase is where they're going to set up all the cameras along the way for that push. This is how a good attack would always go. Then Solus was introduced. Solus having the capabilities of seeing and tracking down every single attacker drone in the prep phase completely removed that entire aspect of the attacking team's prep phase of setting up cameras. Every strong attack started with cameras being placed in locations, which would allow attackers to safely enter the building and gain control of different areas. And for the most part, unless you were a defender running around the map just hunting them normally, drones would evade you quite easily. But now Solus can find every single drone which is placed in the building which is being currently activated by an operator. And the big bit that makes this so strong for Solus is that attack really can't do anything about this. Their option is keep their drone outside and basically waste the prep phase, a phase which is so important at setting up your cameras, or drive your drone in and hope that the Solus misses you, which if you're going against a good Solus is quite low, and risk wasting your camera. You can get your drone in and then tell everyone to get off your drone, which will no longer appear in Solus's scanner. That's a lot of variables into doing something which was typically uncontested before for the most part. And yeah, the prep phase is where she's strongest, and then of course she can see if anyone's planting, see where any more attackers' cameras are throughout the round as well, see anyone who's on their phone. I think just what makes her so strong currently is the whole prep phase thing. If you made it that Solus couldn't use her gadget in the prep phase, I think she'd be way more balanced than she currently is. But in her current state, I feel like the oppression she has on an attacker's prep phase is just way too much, and that is why she is one of the strongest defenders. Now, honestly, I was really fighting with the number 1 and number 2 spot for operators, but I think in number 2, I am going to put Mute. The easiest way to describe Mute in this game is think of how Thatcher and how important he is to the attacking team. Mute is basically just the defender version of that. Thatcher counters pretty much every single defender's gadget that isn't a mechanical one, like a frost mat or a goo mine, for example. Mute is sort of just the same thing, but on defense. He counters pretty much every attacker's gadget. I can't even go through the list of all the gadgets he counters because it would take too long. But basically, he stops every hard breacher, he stops every drone operator, as well as default drones. If Dokkaebi is calling you, you can stand in the radius of a mute jammer and she'll no longer be able to call you. If Jackal has his headset on and he's in the radius of a mute jammer, his display will become blurry and he can no longer see with it on. Blitz cannot use his flash shield when he's in the radius of one. Finka cannot use her adrenal surge either. He just counters pretty much every attacker. Oh, but Ram is immune to him. Yeah, but no, if you set off her gadget in the radius of a mute jammer, again, he would still counter it. Mute just literally does everything. There's never going to be a downside to bringing Mute. He counters so much. And like I said, he's just like the defensive version of Thatcher. If there's an attacker's gadget, Mute will probably counter it. If there's a defender's gadget, Thatcher will probably counter it. Rainbow Six Siege is basically just Thatcher versus Mute with other operators involved. Yeah, I don't really have much to say here. Mute is just a jack of all trade defender who can counter most attackers, so he's an amazing defender. I just put him in second place because the person at number 1 changed the game. And talking of that, our number 1 spot is Azami. She literally just changes the game. She makes different positions and bomb sites completely viable now for the defensive team, which were never viable before. Before, it was like, oh, you want to hold this position? Well, there's a big window beside you, and you're most likely going to die anytime you try this, so just don't do it. And then Azami came along, and it's like, you know what? If you want to hold this position, here's some bulletproof barriers, and I'll place them wherever you want. Azami has literally shaken up this game so much and changed everything. Now, Ubisoft did say she will be getting some changes in the near future, but in her current state, she's Azami. Like, this is the most game-changing operator they ever released in this game. Azami can just block off lines of sight as easily as throwing down her gadget. You can make interesting pixel angles as well, which I do think is an issue with her gadget. I would like it to be a bit more refined, so it is just barriers and not, you know, making little pixel holes and stuff like that. When Ubisoft were developing Azami, they said they wanted a game-changing operator similar to what it was like when they released Mirror, and they succeeded with it. Azami is absolutely incredible. She hasn't received a single nerf since her launch in early year 7, and it has shown in basically every rank as well as Pro League just how strong Azami truly is. I've played her so much since she's came out, and she's literally changed the way I defend in this game. So I don't think it's unfair to say that Azami is currently the best defender in Rainbow Six Siege, and who knows how long she'll remain at this number 1 spot. But yes, those are my top 5 defenders in Rainbow Six Siege as of Operation Heavy Metal's mid-season patch. We are most likely going to get a new defender next season in Year 8 Season 4, so who knows, maybe they'll shake up the game even more and dethrone Azami from this number 1 spot. I'm personally all for these new operators shaking up the game because, let's be honest, we're going into Year 9. If you're going to release operators that come into the game and don't really change much, like Grim and Sense, Grim is really good now, but I'm talking about Grim when he released, then what's the point in adding new content? But yes, be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Who are your top 5 defenders in Rainbow Six Siege at this current point in time? And as well as this, let me know your platform and your rank as well, just so we can get a big understanding of where everyone is and what their favorite operators are. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Drop a like on this video if you did enjoy. Subscribe if you're new. I shall catch you later. I love you all. Stay safe. Peace.